Okay, this is a video which I believe will help you in both your Pokemon activities and in real life because it's all about patience. And I'm not talking any sort of extreme here. I know that most of us are not going to become Zen Buddhist monks or anything. I don't think I could do that. Although maybe, given some time. But that's not what we're talking about. That is not what life is for most of us. However, we also overdo it in the other direction, right? It's always, everything's coming at us so fast, and this is not a new observation, but I would like to introduce a viewpoint that maybe might not have been considered that I think makes a big difference. And it was actually inspired by Give It To Me by Kylie Minogue, which is just the best gym song ever, I gotta tell you. Anyway, the whole point is, because I stress patience in a lot of my videos, and then I see some comments are like, I just want to, get the game over with, so I can get another, or I don't have that much time to play, and stuff like that, which, I get it and everything, and time management is something that I have had a lot of trouble with in the past, but what I really want to emphasize is if you're enjoying something, it shouldn't be over so quickly. You should want to sit with it for a while. It's very easy to overdo it. Like last year, I was watching way too many movies. Is that even possible? But no, really. And then I was enjoying them less because, as soon as I'd watch something I'd really like, I was just like, well, on to the next one. So... And now this year I've slowed it way, way, way down. And well, look at that, I'm enjoying them more. Who could have seen this coming? But in regards to Pokemon, it's not just about, using stall or something so you have longer games. That's not what it's about. It's about, not being afraid of longer games, first of all. It is important. But I even mean in terms of clicking. And I made this video a couple years ago called 3 Tools to Becoming a Better Battler. And one of them is, really, really making sure you're using your timer. And first of all, I physically understand the urge to click a move as soon as you have the option, right? We made fun of players for a long time for being clickers. They would just automatically make moves, the timer would never show up. And as shocking as this may seem, as good as you think your instincts are, you will overlook things if you click automatically, right? And we would have these debates over and over. Like, if you had a clicker on your team, you'd be like, dude, you missed like 3 different moves that were all better than what you were doing. Why not? It's like, oh, sorry, I just clicked too fast. And then you would beg them to not do it again. And sorry, I just noticed my computer isn't plugged in. So that's maybe why the frame rate isn't so good today. But it's doing a pretty good job considering, because it usually collapses when that happens. Anyway, the game chosen on the screen is a good example of patience, which is why it has been selected. And also, Gen 5 UU is great. But yeah, I understand the physical urge, and I know, I had never had it this bad, but I know there are people who get physically uncomfortable when they have to when they have to sit with a move for a while and they're trying to figure it out and they just click just to have something, then maybe while they're waiting for their opponent to make the move, then something else dawns on them and then they go to cancel it. And I mean, the existence of the cancel button on Showdown, which doesn't exist in game, I mean, that's contentious in recent times where we try to be more and more cart accurate. But it's slowing down obviously helps you consider more moves, right? But really, it's not just slow down so you can think your moves more. I've noticed whenever I'm in a game, I'm really enjoying. I did this, I catch myself in the middle of it. It's not about winning or losing. Obviously you're trying to win, but winning, it's not so crucial that you win at all costs. Oh God, if I lose, my life is over, that kind of thing. Which, when we get too caught up in this whole thing, is emotions run a little too high. But in a game where you're very aware, you're very alert, you're in a state of flow. Let's say I studied that for a while in school, and you're just you're focused and you're really enjoying it. And even if you lose, you know what, that was a really good one. I did a video on this battle I had against Blunder in Spoken Tour several years ago, and that was a perfect example because I was very conscious of how much I was having fun with it, even as it was going on. And when you're in that kind of position, you don't want it to be over as soon as possible. You want to, I mean, I'm not saying you drag it out for 16 years, because obviously the other side of that is like, oh, I'm enjoying something, so let me just never do anything else. That ruins it too. No, but, in a situation like that where you're really enjoying the game, then it becomes a lot easier to sit with a turn for 60 seconds or whatever, mapping things out, because you're enjoying the process. And I think it's important because a lot of us, as we get more and more caught up in trying to win and trying to be better, then we forget to enjoy things. And obviously if you're playing a lot, then you're not going to consciously go, I'm really enjoying this battle right now, every single game. But you are going to... You do want to remind yourself of that sometimes, because, I mean, otherwise you have a hobby which is, there's an old Calvin and Hobbes panel, which is like the secret to enjoying your job is to have a hobby that's even worse, and that's how competitive Pokemon has felt for many players for a long time. I know I felt that way before. But really, if I may quote Miss Minogue, she says, take it slow, not too fast, make it last for the longest time. And, I mean... Come on, the real life parallels between this Pokemon thing and other stuff. It's like, oh, do you want other things you partake in to be over immediately? Pretty sure you don't like that. I'm pretty sure other people around you don't like that. It's like, oh, wow, this is really fun. Oh, it's over. Okay, never mind. So she doesn't see the need for rushing, and neither do I. So I think this kind of mindset is helpful, not just for your own game and your personal life and everything, but even in terms of opening your mind to possibilities. Like, there are some players in the competitive scene who are so addicted to super fast-paced teams that they become the easiest players in the world to counter, because they will never, ever slow things down, and that makes their team choice very limited, and therefore you can really zero in on it. And then, it's like, oh, well, what if they switch it up? And the funny thing is that players like this are so, like... Here's the basic logic. If they go with their standard team, you will be very ready. And if they switch it up, they don't have the patience. They will get too, they will start squirming in their seat, and they will mess it up with a defensive team. So, I am one of those players who gets more comfortable the longer the game goes on. And I'm always looking to slow things down and, map things out strategically, systematically over many turns, because that's how you make more, informed decisions. And I realize that not everyone has to have the same playstyle, and I'm not going to call it a defect necessarily to prefer quicker games, but there's a difference between quick because that's the strong playstyle, and quick because you want to get the game over with as soon as possible. I mean, there's a longer discussion to be had about once you get too caught up in the competitive Pokemon side of things, then it's not about enjoying the game anymore. It's just about winning and domination and ego, and it's a really ugly road to go down. So yeah, you want to play fast because that's a good strategy, and not because you want to get the game over with. You don't want to spend time actually playing the game. You want to just sit around being social, and the actual game is secondary or tertiary to that. And or if you're laddering, you just want more and more and more and more. More and more and more is another Kylie Minogue song, but that's not the way she meant it. So, yeah, I think it's something to bear in mind, because it's not that hyper offense players should all play hard stall or anything like that. It's just it's both an adjustment of team style and an adjustment of how you play the game. Because even if you're playing a hyper offense team that tries to win as quickly as possible, that doesn't mean winning in 5 minutes or less. It means you want as few turns as possible. You don't want the game stretching out. Like in Advance, for example, it's not a hard and fast rule, but a lot of offense teams, they're trying to end the game in under 30 turns, which I know seems quaint by hyper offense standards of later generations. DPP hyper offense, for example, 15 sometimes. It's not a hard and fast number. It's just off the top of my head, 20 maybe. But to get to those 30 turns, 15 turns, whatever it is, then you have a very long timer. In fact, I have a spicy opinion that I think the timer is too long, because it gives you too much time to figure things out, because you only have so many options, right? I mean, that's a spicier one, I know. And obviously you don't have a full timer the whole time. But yeah, you got to make use of that timer, so you can say, oh well, I'm just going to hit hard and hit fast. Well, You can still find a lot of strategy to hitting hard and fast. Don't run away from the nuance because you just want to get that big dopamine rush as soon as possible. And I understand the urge to just click and just not have to think and just, have the button go off and see the banded Specs Pokemon do 1,000,000 damage to something. But, then the opposing Pokemon comes in and sets up on your banded or Specs move that it resists or is immune to, and then you're like, oh, well, I shouldn't have done that. Just for example. And in real life, too, it's so easy to just do so many things that are immediately gratifying. Endless possibilities. Immediately gratifying, and then after you're like, well, what was I doing? Like instant gratification kinds of stuff. Whether it's, I don't know, like everyone's familiar with, they're in bed and they're in bed way too long because, it's their day off, so they wind up scrolling for way, way, way too long, and then you're like, I didn't even enjoy that after a while, And that initial urge to, get out of bed sooner, or to, in the Pokemon version, to just slow down and think about it, you feel so much better after. So much better. So, I don't mean to turn this into a sociological treatise on instant gratification, but yeah, something to consider because it just popped into my head as I was listening to my macho manly man music, and I was like, what, this lady makes some interesting points. So yeah, slow it down. I mean, look, sometimes you do want to take things, as quickly as possible. I'm not saying there are no merits to doing so, in real life and in Pokemon. Like, there is a good merit to clicking quickly, as a kind of intimidation or pressure, but you have to know what you're clicking is the right thing ahead of time, And before you get to that point, like, obviously if you have Heat Train versus Ferrothorn, it shouldn't take you any time at all to set up Stealth Rock. Quick, simple example, early in the game. But, then you have situations later on that are more complicated, and those you don't want to be clicking your way through. It's... So before you get to that point of, understanding the metagame and the game itself so well that you know what the best move is, just almost by process of elimination, I've had situations where it's complicated, but I know that I cannot do X, Y, Z, so it's really between two options, and then it takes me 5 seconds to figure out that one is better than the other. So, things like that. So there are merits to clicking fast, but before you get there, you gotta figure out how you're gonna get there first, and be used to it sufficiently. And above all else, you gotta enjoy it in the first place. You gotta... I know Pokemon does stupid stuff, so we can't always enjoy games where you get triple crit frozen in 3 turns, but I think it's worth considering. Really slowing down and enjoying why you're here, because the game captivated you for a reason. And then, why are you still playing? Is it just to go through the motions? Is it good to, wow, this is getting existential. But is it just to go through the motions? It's because it's familiar and comfortable, or are you really enjoying it? And sometimes the game just won't be fun for a while. You step away. I've seen this happen with so many players. Someone will be in a rut, like, oh man, I think I'm done with Pokemon. They step away for a couple months. They come back. Not only are they, having a lot more fun, they're playing a lot better. I'll use the example of UD. I think in the latter half of 2017, he took a break for several months. He came back, end 2017, beginning 2018, and he was revolutionizing the metagame every other week, and he was enjoying himself. So yeah, I think that's basically all I wanted to say. Yeah, so thank you so much for watching / listening, and I will see you in the next one.